Welcome back to the Harry Loomis Show. It is Thursday, July 25th, and I know the NASCAR Cup Series is off for 2 weeks, but that does not mean we do not have news to talk about. Jordan Bianchi with a bombshell today. Corey LaJoie will not be coming back to Spire Motorsports in 2025. Obviously, there was big news with the number 7 team that Rodney Childers would be coming in next year to crew chief that car. I said on this channel that the excuses were out for Corey LaJoie. It was interesting how that news came out to begin with. On the tweet, it says he will crew chief the number 7 car, but it doesn't specify who the driver would be. But in the press release, it does say for Corey LaJoie. So that was always interesting to me how they phrased that announcement. But the news just came out today that the number 7 team will have a new driver. And for Corey LaJoie, it's really hard to imagine kind of his, I don't want to say his fall from grace, but just the perception of Corey LaJoie in the past year. As of last year, he was really one of those well-liked underdogs. His stock was never higher than it was in 2023, by the way, where he had 2 top 5s, 3 top 10s, had an average finish of 20.8, ran 25th in points. That was a great season for his Spire Motorsports team. This year has been a step back across the board. His one top 10 was a 4th place finish in the Daytona 500. His average finish is down almost 2 positions through 22 races. He's led fewer laps than he led in 2023. And obviously the perception of him after the incident with Kyle Busch really didn't do him any favors in the public eye. And it doesn't help as well. This is the first year he's getting outrun by a teammate. Carson Hocevar is having a fantastic season in the number 77. He's beating Corey LaJoie right now, looking at the math, by 59 points, and that doesn't take into account the penalty that Hocevar got after Nashville. Average finish is over 3 positions better as well. So definitely not a position that Corey LaJoie was accustomed to in Spire Motorsports since he got there in 2021. But this is not an announcement that I was expecting. I was under the impression that he had a multi-year deal that he signed with Spire Motorsports last year. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the pieces fall after this. And it's going to be interesting as well, where does Corey LaJoie find a ride for the Cup Series going into next year? There, by my math, I have 6 possible rides that are available next year. That is possibly Trackhouse, assuming they get a charter from Stewart-Haas. Front Row has another ride available. There's a good chance 2311 also has a charter from Stewart-Haas. Obviously, the number 7 car from Spire Motorsports that Corey LaJoie is leaving. And there's always a chance that Colleague could switch up their teams as well. So I'm going to take a look at this. I have this very low budget spreadsheet, but these are the teams that I think could have rides available, and some absolutely do. And these are some drivers just off the top of my head that I thought of that could be in the series next year. Corey Heim, Zane Smith needs a ride because Michael McDowell's getting the 71. SVG, Sam Mayer, Ryan Preece, who's leaving, who's not going to have a ride, obviously with Stewart-Haas, the Haas factory team that'll be driven by Cole Custer. Harrison Burton lost his ride to Josh Berry, Wood Brothers, Corey LaJoie, obviously the announcement today. Christian Eckes is having a fantastic season in the Truck Series. Will he be able to move up? And if so, does he move up to the Cup Series? Do the pieces fall for him? Riley Herbst is an option as well with the Monster Energy funding. And Daniel Hemrick is in the 31 car right now. Does he get moved? Does he move around at all? We're going to try to move things around and do our best guess as to how these pieces will fall. And there are going to be some drivers that are in the Cup Series right now that just do not have a place next year unless things switch up. Looking at it, I think Trackhouse is a pretty easy one. That is Shane Van Gisbergen's ride. I think that one's pretty set in stone. He's got the sponsorship between Wendy's and WeatherTech. He did not come to America to continue running an Xfinity Series. He's by no means going to be a championship threat or anything like that, but he's so good on these road courses. He could get a win his first year and be in the playoffs. It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. Front Row is where it gets interesting. Sam Mayer was projected for this ride for a while. It's a Ford ride, so does a guy like Ryan Preece or Harrison Burton get that opportunity. I think we're actually going to come back to that. 2311, I thought was going to be Corey Haim's ride to lose, but hearing what we've been hearing in the past couple of weeks, it sounds like that's going to go to Riley Herbst. He's got the Monster Energy funding. They've already got Monster Energy with Tyler Reddick, so double down there. Herbst, it seems like from the sounds of it, since they have the Stuart Haas, they're with Stuart Haas already. It seems like they're going to help them out, get them to where they want Riley Herbst to go, and I think that is ultimately going to be with 2311 back with Toyota Racing Development. Now, Spire is where it gets interesting. I thought that ride was going to be perfect for I thought 2311 was going to be perfect for Corey Haim. Right now, there is not a rookie in the 2025 Cup Series. I think that changes. I think Corey Haim, this is the time for him to leave Toyota. I think he is Cup ready next year. I don't think you need to do the natural truck to Xfinity to Cup Series development anymore. The cars are so different. I've heard drivers say that the truck series actually, the trucks drive more like Cup cars than Xfinity cars do now. I think Corey Haim is far and away the best prospect in NASCAR, and Spire Motorsports, with the Gainbridge funding that they have, is going to do everything they can to move Corey Haim into the 7 car and into the Cup Series. So they're going to have a team full of Corey Haim, Carson Hocevar, and Michael McDowell. I think that's a really formidable team for an or a really formidable roster for an up-and-coming team like Spire Motorsports to have. And I really think that could be a promising spot for Haim to land in. He's going to impress in that ride, and who knows, he could continue to build with that team, or he could move to a better ride in a couple years. But I think that's where he ends up. So that leaves Zane Smith needing a ride now. I thought there was a chance he could stay at Spire and get that ride, work with Rodney Childers, but he's going to work with Corey Haim. So he needs a ride, and I think he's going to find one in the form of his Truck Series partner, Front Row Motorsports. I want Zane Smith to stay with Trackhouse. I think that would have been a great option for them. But NASCAR is trying to limit teams from expanding to 4 cars. Obviously, Hendrick and Gibbs are grandfathered in, but they're not really trying to help new teams add to 4 cars. So Trackhouse is going to have to get creative because they have Suarez who's staying. Ross Chastain's not going anywhere. Shane Van Gisbergen is going to be in the Cup Series. I have him getting that Trackhouse ride. That leaves Zane Smith the odd one out. And I don't think Front Row is a bad landing spot for him. I just shot my AirPods. I don't think Front Row is a bad landing spot for him at all. Front Row is on the come up. He's been there before. He had a good partnership with them. He won a championship in the Truck Series. So I think it's going to be him, Noah Gragson, and Todd Gilliland moving forward. Another 3-car team that I really like going into the future. I think that would be a really good move for Front Row. Now we go to Colleague. And Colleague is always interesting because is there a chance AJ Allmendinger runs Cup full-time again? Does he still want to run some races? I think now the way that things are moving, they're actually going to have 2 full-time drivers. I think Daniel Hemrick stays and drives the number 31 for one more year. And with all the other options left, I think the best option for the 16 is actually going to be Corey LaJoie. I think Corey LaJoie will stay in the Cup Series going forward in 2025, and I think that will be a Colleague. You might call that a neutral move. A couple years ago, we definitely would have said that's an upgrade for him, but Colleague, it's been fairly rough sledding for them, especially this year. Aside from AJ Allmendinger's win at the Roval last year, the last 2 years haven't been overly kind to Colleague racing. Daniel Hemrick right now sits 30th in points behind Justin Haley and the Rick Ware ride, who left Colleague Racing last year. So I think they are going to build with these 2 drivers and see what they're able to do. Obviously, their Xfinity Series prospect pool doesn't look as good as it did last year. Chandler Smith, losing him was definitely a pretty big loss. But this, I think, will be how the 6 potentially available rides will shake out in 2025. Shane Van Gisbergen will go to Trackhouse. Zane Smith will go back to Front Row. Riley Herbst will go to 2311. Corey Haim will go to Spire. Corey LaJoie will go to Colleague in the 16. And Daniel Hemrick will stay in the 31, which leaves guys like Sam Mayer, Ryan Preece, Harrison Burton, and Christian Eckes looking towards 2026 to see if they can find a way into the Cup Series. That's going to do it for this episode. We're just going to make it a quick one about the Corey LaJoie news. We'll keep you updated if there's more news to follow in the next 2 weeks. And we'll be back on Monday for another edition of the Harry Loomis Show. My name is Harry Loomis. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll talk again soon. And that's a take.